The desert needs no healing. Excuse me, I started on the second stanza of this poem. Let me start that again. I'll start at the beginning. I thought that sounded really weird. Okay. Take two. The fool said, "The desert shall blossom as the rose," as if we aesthetic apes have only eyes for velvet. The desert needs no healing. Make it not to blossom as a rose. The desert is a desert, and the rose is a rose. This is to say, the desert already blossoms for those with eyes to see, and the rose is far too proud and delicate a thing to ask of a desert its emulation. For the desert, too, has pride of a quieter kind, steadily changing, unknowingly knowing, slow, quick. All deserts are like this. A desert produces life of its kind, hardy, lean, patient. A rose is life of its kind, pretty, sweet, beneedled. A desert attracts its own, likewise beguiles the rose. Let the desert be, and the rose may still remain. In this may wiser apes prevail.
Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. No matter what you have experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you're welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Good morning. Welcome to South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. My name is Matthew Morris. My pronouns are he, him. I am a very tall white man in an awesome monochromatic gray outfit this morning. And it is my pleasure to serve as the worship associate for this morning's service. Our worship leader this morning is our wonderful Lindsay. Next, let's all turn and greet our Zoom community. Let's say hello and wave at the camera. Hi, everybody. And then let's take a moment to fully arrive and welcome one another with joy.
Please rise as you are willing and able for our opening hymn. This is 1016 Untitled. We will be singing verses 1, 2, and 4. We'll be doing the English text. If you slip and start singing in Spanish, that's okay. I probably will at some point, because italics are the whisper font.
to light the chalice. If you guys want to stay standing, you can. We're going to get a little bit of help. All right. So those at home are invited to light a chalice and share in this ritual by entering chalices lit at the name of your street in the chat box on Zoom. Please join me in repeating our chalice lighting words and use our actions if you wish. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, for the energy of action, and the flames of resistance, for the purpose of liberation. All right. And now we're going to do a time for all ages. So if all the kids could come up and get a cushion. Does everyone have a cushion who wants them? We have some extra ones. All right. So today I'm going to share one of my favorite picture books with you guys. It's by someone who is named Oliver Jeffers, and he is also one of my favorite artists. So this is a very special book. I'm going to squeeze in here. All right, and the adults can see the illustrations up above. It's called The Heart and the Bottle. Once there was a girl, much like any other. You can't see. Should I get out of the way? Here, I'll come over here. Whose head was filled with all the curiosities of the world. And if you can't see, there's also a picture up there. I'm sorry that I'm being echoey. With thoughts of the stars, with wonder at the sea, she took delight in finding new things. What's she doing right here? She's drawing a picture, maybe going to show it to somebody, until the day she found an empty chair. What do you think that means? Her dad died, or maybe he left, or something happened and he couldn't be there anymore. That's sad, huh? Feeling unsure, the girl thought the best thing was to put her heart in a safe place, just for the time being. So she put it in a bottle and hung it around her neck, and that seemed to fix things. At first, although in truth nothing was the same. She forgot about the stars and stopped taking notice of the sea. She was no longer filled with all the curiosities of the world and didn't take much notice of anything. Do you notice how she also grew up? Other things, other than how heavy and awkward the bottle had become, but at least her heart was safe. It might never have occurred to the girl, what to do had she not met someone smaller and still curious about the world. There was a time when the girl would have known how to answer her. The girl asked a question, but she doesn't know how to answer. Not now, not without her heart. And it was right then that she decided to get her heart back out of the bottle. But she didn't know how. She couldn't remember. And nothing seemed to work. The bottle couldn't be broken. It just bounced and rolled right down to the sea. But there, it occurred to someone smaller and still curious about the world that she might know a way. And it just so happened she did. That's weird.
Yeah, I can't hold a heart. That's disgusting.
That's honest. The heart was put back where it came from, and the chair wasn't so empty anymore. But the bottle was. So why do you think that the little girl was able to help her get the heart?
When the heart was in the bottle, the bottle had an idea. And how did the bottle?
Well, let's talk about that. What does that mean? What do you think that is? Do you guys know what a metaphor is? What's a metaphor? It's when you tell a story about something that's really about something else. So when she put her heart in the bottle, what do you think that means?
You don't want to love anymore.
Yeah, that you can't love anymore. And she did that because her heart hurt so much, right? She wanted to protect it. So that's what this story is about, is sometimes when something really bad happens, we try to protect ourselves. But what made it all better in the end? Do you remember?
She's tiny girl.
The little girl. Why do you think that is?
Because she opened the bottle.
She opened the bottle. How do you think she did that?
Because she still had a heart.
She still had her heart. So sometimes when you're little, you really want to be big, right? Like you really want to be an adult. And I think what this story is trying to say is that you guys are perfect exactly the way you are. And there's something about just being a kid that's kind of magic. And that you have so much to give, not just like your friends, but also the adults in your life. So I think that's what this story is about. But it is also kind of gross because they do handle a human heart. So that's fair. Thank you for giving me your honest reactions. Anyway, let's sing the kids out.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. Today's offering is shared with Friends of the Great Salt Lake, whose mission is to preserve and protect the Great Salt Lake ecosystem and increase public awareness and appreciation of the lake through education, research, advocacy, and the arts. Friends' long-term vision is to achieve comprehensive watershed-based restoration and protection of the Great Salt Lake ecosystem. Please join me in reading our offertory words. They are here on the monitor. We are this church.
We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts.
We will now accept the offering. For those at home, you are invited to use the giving link in the online order of service. For those of you here, you are also invited to do that. I invite the ushers to come forward at this time. For all we have received and all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing on South Valley and on Friends of Great Salt Lake. Okay, one of my favorite things. All gathered here today are invited to participate in our ritual of joys and sorrows. Those who are joining us in the virtual community are invited to use the chat box in the Zoom space to share your joys and sorrows. For those gathered here in body, you are invited to approach the altar. There's one here, and then there's one in the back over there. And place a stone in the water. Feel free to pause as you select your stone and gently place it in the water bowl. You are invited to practice this ritual in silence. At the close of the ritual, when all who wish to have added their stone, we will add a final stone to represent those joys and sorrows unexpressed, but still held in kindness. Those gathered here may now begin to process up to the table. There's like another sentence, but it's not relevant at all, and that's why. Please. And then, oh, I have no laugh. And then we've got a couple of final stones. There's going to be one stone for all of the joys and sorrows expressed on Zoom, and then there will be a stone for all of those joys and sorrows left unsaid but held in kindness.
I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Lindsay. I'm a tall woman with curly hair and a long black dress. And I use she, her pronouns. And welcome. This sermon is a very personal topic for me because I think art is such a meaningful thing in my life specifically. When I was 23, I gave the novel I was working on to a good friend and requested his honest feedback. After he read it, he sat me down and gently said, "You don't have it." When I asked him what he meant, he told me that my words on the page didn't translate to a cohesive or interesting story. I just didn't have it. This may sound insensitive, but my friend was well-intentioned when he told me this. He knew I spent hours every day working on this talent that I thought I had, and he wanted to save me from myself. Like many people, he didn't think writing was a worthy pastime unless I was good enough to make a living at it. Adults often view artistic pursuits in this way. Children are allowed to make amateur art, but adults only sing if we're always on key, only paint if a stranger would willingly display our artwork on their walls, and only write if we've been told by others that we're good at it. After my friend's critique, I didn't write for years. It was the longest I've ever gone without writing since I learned how to draw letters in elementary school. To be fair, that wasn't as bad as it sounds. I did other things, like go to graduate school, become a certified yoga instructor, and get married to my wife. The time I'd spent at my writing desk truly had been holding me back from doing many of the things that I wanted with my life. But then something important happened. I missed writing. My life had gotten unbearably complicated, and my fingers itched for the escape and creative outlet writing novels used to give me. I finally decided that I didn't care if I had it or not. I was going to write anyway. The critique I got from my friends still proved to be useful because I returned to my passion for writing with an eagerness to improve. I went to writing classes and local writing groups where I workshopped the manuscript my friend disliked so much and learned that it was probably because the characters were dull and lifeless. So I researched how to make my fictional characters more engaging. There are books on that exact topic. I learned everything I could about character work, and I wrote short stories incorporating that knowledge. Then I workshopped those stories and learned how to make my writing better through constructive feedback. Eventually, I wrote another novel. I'd like to tell you that it got published and it became a bestseller, but it didn't. It was a better novel than the one I gave my friend, though. 6 novels later, I did write a bestseller, several in fact, and now I make my living doing what I love. That's a fun story, isn't it? With an underdog who's willing to work hard and ends up making it big in the end. And it's a true story, too. I'm not just yanking your chain. But it's not the whole story. I'll tell you the rest later on. First, I'd like to tell you a different story. This one is about my dad and his love for music. My dad has always had perfect pitch. My grandmother said he started singing as a toddler and he never stopped. When I was growing up, he would blast jazz music on the radio and sing scat, along with the lilting saxophones and trailing pianos. The way he effortlessly added his own beauty to those songs felt like magic. His love for music was so big and powerful, it was impossible to live with him and not get caught up in it. It wasn't until I was a teenager that I found out my dad wanted to be a musician when he was younger. Apparently, he played the trombone, and he was so good at it, he won state and national competitions in high school and was admitted to a selective program in college. But it didn't work out for him, which is common for many people who want to create art for a living. The reality of touring and the inevitable poverty of musician life were too much of a deterrent, and he put his trombone away for 15 years. I didn't see him play it until I was 12. It was simply too painful for him. Instead, my dad pursued a career in computer science that ended up being satisfying for him. Our society has this idea that musicians who fail to make a living with their art are somehow tragic, even though the decision to make a reliable paycheck doing something more practical isn't sad at all. I grew up in a safe neighborhood next to a good school because my dad took that route. He said he didn't regret it, and I believe him. Sometimes you can be very, very good at something, and it doesn't have to be your career to matter, especially to the people you love. My relationship with my father is complicated, but the love he gave me for music isn't. I think we forget just how much children are influenced by the artistic pursuits of the adults in their lives. My mother handcrafts intricate cards for us every birthday and Christmas. When my child Ren was in preschool, they saved each one in a box and took out the cards almost every day to run their little fingers along the layers of folded paper and colorful stickers. I think those cards were as magical to Ren as my father's singing was to me. It isn't just my family's art that enchants Ren. Lots of people in this congregation have created magic for my child. Ren loves the artistic flair of Andrea's party decorations, Jesse's homemade Hobbit costume, and Colin's music. When we think of art, particularly important art, worthy art, we often think of the masterpieces found in a museum. That art is valuable too, of course, but I don't know if there will ever be a painting that matters as much to my child as the birthday cards that Grandma made for them. Proximity is a major factor when it comes to how deeply art touches us. I've been to my share of professional concerts where I heard world-famous musicians create gorgeous music, but I think the time Kevin sang, "I Don't Know How to Love Him," during a church service in this room touched me far more. I've read countless books about spirituality and love, but the wedding ceremony my best friend wrote for my wife and I was more moving. If we only create art when we feel like we're good enough to go pro, we're robbing the people in our lives of the beauty that we could share with them. The passions we share are a bright bit of magic in a world that can feel impossibly bleak sometimes, and they're enough. Perfection isn't necessary. Now let's return to the story of my writing career. Those bestsellers I told you about were self-published romance novels. That changes the story for a lot of people. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Romance is nothing more than a fantasy, and fantasy novels seem to be valid in our society. I guess it's okay to fantasize about a dragon, but not a man who treats you well. Or heaven forbid, a man who's good in bed. Clearly, romance novels are so unrealistic. But I digress. If anyone wants to have a conversation about the inherent misogyny and the disparagement of romance as a genre, please find me after. What's more important is the reason why I write romance. I do it because it's lucrative. Romance is a multi-billion-dollar industry that has always kept the lights on in the publishing houses. In fact, they can only afford to publish literary fiction because of romance. And James Patterson, of course. We can't forget about him. But literary fiction does not pay its own bills. It never has, and it never will. If you love literary fiction, please know that it exists because of those books with shirtless men on the cover. My job is very different than what I imagined when I dreamed of being a full-time writer. I thought I'd be spending my mornings leisurely sipping espresso and going on long walks before sitting down and writing a single perfect paragraph. Instead, I spend much of my time marketing, networking, and unfortunately doing math. Being a self-published writer involves running a business, and apparently that is a mathy endeavor. At this point, I have friends who are professional writers from all around the world, and the only ones who are making full-time money from their books are self-published in the romance genre. Even my friends who are doing well in traditionally published middle grade or YA can't make near enough money to live on. My expectation of what becoming a full-time writer would be doesn't exist, at least not anymore. Most of your favorite writers have day jobs as professors, therapists, or sometimes even pizza delivery drivers. We have to stop romanticizing making it in artistic industries. It is rarely as pure or as simple as we think it is. Instead, we should romanticize the joy of sitting down and doing whatever your body wants when you're feeling creative. Whether that's planning a Lego party for yourself with cute decorations and party favors, or writing a novel. There is something inherently healing in the creative process. It is an active, engaging experience, unlike the passive interactions we commonly have with screens these days. It is a worthy pastime that takes care of our brains and lets us share the beauty of our passions with the people we love most. Up on the altar, Becky Condis and I have assembled several things the people we love have created. This painting right here, that was done by my sister-in-law. It's of my kid, Ren, when they were reading board books as a baby, and it's one of my favorite pieces of art. This blanket right here was crocheted by my great-great-grandmother, Nana, when she was legally blind. She crocheted several dozen baby blankets in the years before her death and saved them in a chest for her descendants. I received the last one from the chest when Ren was born. I remember how my family members reacted when I was given this blanket, like I had received a blanket made of pure gold. It's not a perfect blanket by any stretch of the imagination. There are plenty of mistakes, but it doesn't matter because who made it and why are far more important. I will treasure this blanket until the day I deem Ren old enough to take care of it well on their own. Then I'll give it to them and tell them about my great-great-grandmother who lived to be 94 and was born in a wagon and died in an airplane. This blanket matters because of her. Your art matters because of you. Sing to your children if you want to, even if you're off key. Bake that sourdough bread that you enjoy so much and serve it to your friends while it's still warm. They won't care if there's a hollow spot at the bottom. Take that painting class and let your brain feel the rush of learning something new. It doesn't matter how good the painting you end up taking home is. The primary purpose of art is the enjoyment we experience in the creation of it. My father has 4 brothers. They can sing almost as well as he can. When I was growing up, they used to perform together, mostly for sacrament meetings at our church. I remember when they practiced in our living room, I would hide at the top of the stairs to listen to them, closing my eyes to savor the sweet sound of their harmonies. It was the first time I experienced something so beautiful my heart felt too big for my chest. I thought their music came straight from God. There was no other way my younger self could explain the intensity of what I was feeling. I think this is why churches have hymns and live music. They try to harness that intensity and label it as the divine. But that isn't God. That's just us creating beauty for each other through our art. At least that's what I believe. Perhaps that's why humans try to explain the origin of our world as the result of creation, because we are creators, and we find meaning in that sacred process. It makes sense that the gods we dream up would be creators too.
Please rise as you are willing and able for our closing hymn, 1007. There's a river flowing in my soul. Little bit of explanation for this, so it can be a little bit confusing the way this is written out. So you'll see there are brackets with little numbers under them. So we'll sing this through a few times, right? The first and second time is pretty straightforward. The third time, the bracket with the 3 under it, it's got these other bars with dots. Some of you already know that's what's called a repeat sign. So those 2 measures, we sing twice before we then go to where it says last time. So it'll be, there's a river flowing, and then we sing river flowing, there's a river flowing, there's a river flowing in my soul. We basically do that like 3 times. We call that a 3-peat.
going to extinguish the chalice. You can remain standing if you'd like. And if you could repeat the words with me, they are on the monitor, and you're invited to say them aloud with me.
We extinguish this chalice,
but not the warmth of love, the light of truth,
the energy of passion, the flames of resistance burn within, and we hold each other in our hearts until we meet again.
Okay, and today we will have both our potluck and our meeting with the board after the service.